So 2.5 is going to be reasoning. So here are different properties that I want you to pause and write down. So addition property, what you add to one side you can add to the other. Subtraction, what you subtract from one side you can subtract from the other. Multiplication, what you multiply to one side you can multiply to the other. Division, what you divide to one side you can divide to the other. Reflexive is when you can flip-flop A and A. Symmetric property, if A equals B, then B equals A. Okay, so those are flipping them around. Reflexive property also means that both sides equal each other. Transitive property, if A equals B and B equals C, then A equals C. So if one equals another, then you can switch them in and out. Substitution property, if A equals B, then B can replace A in any expression. Distributive property, A parentheses B plus C equals the same thing as AB plus AC, so distributing it. Properties of congruence. So reflexive property, I'm going to go ahead and write this out. So if I have AB, okay, reflexive property basically just says that that same segment is congruent to that same segment. Okay, along with if I just had angle A, okay, so if this was angle A is congruent to the same segment, or the same angle, so angle A. Okay, symmetric property. If AB is congruent to CD, then CD is also congruent to AB. Okay, you can flip them. If angle A is congruent to angle B, then the same thing, angle B is still congruent to angle A. Transitive. If the segment AB is congruent to the segment CD, and CD is congruent to the segment EF, then we can flip them in and out because CD represents the same thing as EF, so we can put EF in its place. So AB, the segment of AB is congruent to the segment of EF. Okay, same thing with angles. If angle A is congruent to angle B, then and angle B is congruent to angle C, that means my B's can switch out since angle B is the same thing as C. So that means angle A is congruent to angle C. A proof, a convincing argument that uses deductive reasoning. So we're going to be using these rules that we just learned, those properties, to prove that something is right. Okay, so if I'm giving you this with these two angles, and I'm telling you angle 1 and angle 2 are supplementary, and I want to prove that x equals 25. So I'm going to make my t-chart. My first step, I'm always going to say what's given. So angle 1 and angle 2 are supplementary, because that is given. Okay, which means the same thing as the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 should equal 180 degrees, which is the definition of a supplementary angle. So we're going to keep proving. Okay, I'm going to substitute in what our measure 1 and the measure of angle 1 and the measure of angle 2 are. So we're going to substitute in 2x plus 5x plus 5 in for my measure of angle 1 and measure of angle 2 by using the substitution property. From here, we can combine like terms and use the subtraction property to subtract 5 over to 180 over here. And use the division property of equality, because what you divide to one side, you can divide to the other side, so you should get x equals 25, which is what we were trying to prove. Okay, next one. Given m is the midpoint, so m is cutting this in half, prove x equals 8. So m as my midpoint is given. So if it is my midpoint, that means AM and MB should be equal to each other by definition of a midpoint. Okay, so that means we can substitute that in. So using the substitution property, I'm going to fill in AM and MB. Use the subtraction property, so I'm going to subtract 4x to both sides to get that 2x. Okay, I'm going to use the addition property to add 10 over. And then I'm going to use the division property of equality because we can divide both sides by 2 to get x equals 8, which is what we were trying to prove.